Okay, so we've just masked our copper hydroxide, and kind of as suspected, it did not dry out fully. So you'll have to think about that a little bit when you do your lab error and your theoretical and actual percent yield calculations. So what we're going to do with this copper hydroxide now is we're going to scrape it as best we can. Sometimes we actually just throw the whole filter paper in here into some warm water, which we're going to continue to heat. This is the one time that you won't get an intermediate mass because the copper oxide does not do well. The copper hydroxide, when it decomposes, turns into copper oxide, and it doesn't do well with filtering. So we just form it, and then we immediately react it with our sulfuric acid. So I'm getting as much as I can in here. And again, sometimes we just, this is not one where we're gonna get 100% transfer, but we'll do what we can. And then we'll let it heat for a little while, and we'll continue to stir. You might actually, particularly the stuff near the bottom, see fairly quickly it starts to kind of turn to a brownish color. Switch to stirring rod. And so as that heats for a while, all of it should be turning to that brownish color. And that's when we know we've completed the conversion to copper oxide and we're ready for the next step. Okay, so now we have our copper oxide that has changed color, and this has cooled down a little bit because I had it on the hot plate before. So what I'm going to do is decant off the liquid, very carefully pouring, trying not to lose any of our copper oxide. And what I'm going to do here is add some hot distilled water to rinse it, and then we'll let that settle and we'll decant again. So we'll let that settle for a minute. Okay, so now that this has settled a little bit, I'm gonna pour, again, I'm gonna decant off the liquid, keeping the copper oxide behind. And then what we're going to do, and so you'll see this is kind of a brownish gray color here. We're gonna add some 3 molar sulfuric acid, hydrogen sulfate. So you'll be able to get the measurement of that. And when we add that, we should see that there is a color change, and as we mix it up, the brown starts to go away and we get a fairly blue color. So that'll happen a little bit over time, but what we're going to do now is we're actually going to put this in the oven to dry it a little bit overnight. We have to keep it on a very, very low setting, but it helps it to evaporate.